Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today, I'm once again answering some of your questions, like, is this particular watch better than Patek and AP? Also, before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my Patek Philippe 5296 Calatrava sector dial in white gold. Absolutely love it. And also, guys, don't forget to check out delraywatch.com. A bunch of very interesting watches came in stock, including the Peter Speak Marin Valsheda. This is from the era of when the man Peter Speak Marin still worked for the brand Peter Speak Marin, which was no longer the case. Very, very rare watch. We also got in a Tudor Pelagos FXD, a fantastic titanium rough and tumble dive watch. And if you want another rare piece, we just got in a Takano, a Japanese independent chronometer, a watch that I've never actually seen in the flesh until I just bought one for Delray Watch, and now it is available. Go check out delraywatch.com, the best place for a watch geek to buy a watch. Link in the description below. Anyway, guys, you know the spiel. These are the questions you ask me on my Instagram account at Federico Talks Watches. Few times a month, a Q&A picture pops up. When you see that picture, feel free to ask your questions. When I get enough questions, I take the picture down. Please do not DM me. I do not check them. And in no particular order, we start with Captain Tob. Tudor 1926 Luna. Interesting piece out of Tudor's comfort zone, or bleh? I actually like it. Everybody knows, especially if you watch this channel, that I'm a fan of moon phases. And while I don't think this is the most handsome moon phase of all time, I do find it interesting to see moon phases on bracelets, and I like that Tudor is innovating. Maybe they can even pass this down to Rolex, and Rolex can make more moon phase pieces like they used to in the past. Certainly not my favorite moon phase, but I'm very, very happy to see this release. There can never be too many moon phases. Bagel-wise, Fed, what are your thoughts on Czapek and where they're going? I like Czapek. I really like their Antarctique line of watches. I also like their dress watches on leather straps, which are massively underappreciated in the current market. They recently just released a very cool Antarctique chronograph. I think they started with a huge buzz. I think since they're a small brand, their releases are quite slow to market. And now they've lost some of that buzz, not because they've done anything wrong, but because the market overall is in a little bit of a downturn, especially with tariffs. But overall, I like Czapek. I think they're here to stay. I think they're going to be solidly in that mid-level independent range, kind of like H. Moser. 10X Sean, good friend of mine. He says, I think JLC is the most underrated brand out there. I agree with you, Sean. With that said, what are your thoughts on Atmos clocks? They don't get talked about enough, in my opinion. Well, Sean, I actually really like and really dislike Atmos clocks. Let me explain myself. The Atmos clock, for the people that don't know out there, is a clock that has a mechanism with some special gases in it that kind of keeps itself charged with changes in atmospheric pressure. A very cool concept. A lot of these Atmos clocks are also built as art pieces. Very, very beautiful to look at. And very, very expensive. Now, obviously, I don't love them being expensive. I do understand it because it's very cool and they are works of art. However, what a lot of people fail to mention is getting an Atmos, particularly an early Atmos, to work properly is difficult. I can't speak out of current experience because I genuinely have not played with an Atmos clock in probably about a decade. But they can be very, very, very finicky. And that is the part I dislike. Pedro 457876. Hey Fed, I hope you're doing well. Thanks, Pedro. What do you think about pairing jewelry with watches? Recently, I got a love bracelet cuff and I would like a Piaget possession. Having your former connection with Piaget would be fun to have your opinion. Kind regards. Well, Pedro, I'm going to preface this by saying this is just my opinion, and you do you. But I personally don't like jewelry. I don't think men should really wear jewelry. I don't wear any jewelry. However, as I said, that is just my opinion. I don't like the look of jewelry on men. However, that being said, if you're gonna pair jewelry with a watch, if it's a stainless steel watch, please be aware the stainless steel is gonna scratch the jewelry because it's a much harder metal. And if you're wearing a gold watch, it could kind of scratch against each other and you could really do some damage. As long as you're okay with things scratching, which personally wouldn't necessarily bother me if I like jewelry, it's just something you should know of, then go for it. You do what you like. You know, I'm obviously not judging, but personally, I'm rather a classically styled guy, so jewelry is not really for me. I'm sorry if my answer isn't helpful. Then last but not least, Fabs Uno. Is the Breguet Tradition, any model, worth the money? In your opinion, would you take one over a Patek Calatrava or an AP dress piece? I'm going to answer this in a few ways. I would pick a Breguet over an AP dress piece any day of the week, full stop. That's the beginning of your answer. While I think AP watches are made very well, I find the Jules Audemars line to be boring, uninspired, and unchanged in a couple of decades. Never, never, never. Now, I'm wearing a Calatrava, and I love my Calatrava, but I believe the Breguet Tradition, particularly pre-owned, offers a ton of value. You can pick up a beautiful Breguet Tradition for half the price of the most basic Calatrava if you buy a pre-owned. If you look at MSRP, they're priced very, very similarly. And if you're going to pay MSRP, then I would probably stick with the Patek just because of the value proposition. But if you're a seasoned collector, you know what you're doing, and you're okay buying pre-owned, then I think the Breguet Tradition is the best dress watch for the money, full stop. Anyway, guys, that's it for me today. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really does help. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more content. And of course, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.